Good Shabbos. This week is Parshas Pinchas, and the beginning of Parshas Pinchas is really the culmination of the story of Parshas Balak about how the Jews had a magefa, a plague, occur to them because of the sins that they committed, and how Pinchas stopped that plague. And I want to focus really on that, the last section of last week's portion. But before I focus on that section, we have to go back to the beginning of Parshas Balak. In the beginning of Parshas Balak, we have Balak, who's the king of Moab, hires Bilam, a known sorcerer or prophet, depending on who you ask, and somebody who has the power to curse and to bless. And those that he curses are cursed, those that are blessed, and therefore Balak seeks him out to fight the Jewish people on their own turf, so to speak, rather than militarily. And the story goes on, a very well-known story, how Bilam was trying to curse the Jewish people, and he's thwarted by God. He keeps telling Balak, I could only say the words that come to me from God, and whatever God tells me to say, that's what I'm going to say. And as he goes numerous times to go curse the Jewish people, he comes back and instead of cursing them, sings their praises and blesses them. And on the simple level, it seems that here we have somebody who has the power to curse, and the Torah seems to be suggesting that there is a power to curse, and it's only God who miraculously intervenes and makes sure that Bilam does not come out with a curse, but with a blessing that saves the Jewish people. But I believe there's another way of looking at this portion, and perhaps the message is just the opposite. Belief by most people, especially in ancient times, is that people have a power to curse and have a power to bless. And many people are swayed by this power, and they believe that whoever has that power, whatever they do, whatever buttons they push, they're successful in creating curses or blessings for the people or the person that they bless. And perhaps the Torah is giving a simple message, that you think that somebody has the power of curse. And actually, even in the Talmud, it says that how did Bilam have the power to curse? According to one opinion, it says that he knew the moment that every day, there's just a split second every day that God gets angry. And when God's anger is in the fore, is when it occurs, that's when you take advantage and you can curse someone. And God thwarted him by making him miss that moment of cursing. But I would suggest that possibly, as I said earlier, it's just the opposite. The message is that we think that people have the power to curse. We think that people have the power to bless. But really, it's saying, no, we only could do what God wants us, not because God is intervening. It's because God sees the people as they are, and he knows whether they're worthy or not worthy of blessing or curses. And therefore, there's no way that you could curse someone who's not cursed, and you can't bless someone who's not blessed. And that's really the message. Bilam keeps saying, I could only say the words that God puts into my mouth. What he's really saying is, my prophecy, my ability to have divine inspiration is to be inspired by the truth. And the truth will tell us one way or the other. I can't sway nature in order to curse someone who's really not cursed, and vice versa. And that's the simple message. And therefore, at the end of the portion, it says what happens is, how do the Jewish people really fail? They fail by, it says that, Vayachal ha'am liznos el benos Moab. They start going after the women and sleeping with the women of the daughters of Moab. And then it goes on to say, not only that, but Yitzham Yisrael Balpar, they attach themselves to idol worship. So they all of a sudden now are involved in idol worship and sexual immorality. And the story goes on to say that a prominent person amongst the Jewish people sleeps with a woman who was forbidden to him, to a Midianite woman, in front of the whole congregation. And Pinchas comes and he kills them on the spot, and that stops the plague. But really what's happening is they're sinning, and they're creating a situation where they're not deserving of blessing. They're not deserving of being cursed. The plague, the Torah seemingly is telling us that Bilam and Balak and the powers that are in heaven have no power over us to curse or bless us. They only have the power of having insight into what's correct and what's not correct. In Bilam comes up at the end, he says, Matovu alecha Yaakov, how goodly are the tents of Yaakov, of the house of Jacob, of Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel. If your house is pure, if you're not having this immorality, if you're not serving idols, but you are serving God in a pure and innocent way, then Bilam has no power over us. According to the Medrash, it seems to say that later on, the Torah hints to us that Bilam gave a advice to Balak to send these women out to seduce the Jewish people. It's not 100% clear in the story here, but it seems to be mentioned later on in this week's Parsha. Bottom line, Bilam realizes that I don't have the power. I only have the power to make these people have choices. I could seduce them in order to make for them to sin, and their sins will create their own downfall. And it's only a Pinchas who comes and realizes, no, that sometimes we have to put a stop to this. We cannot allow this immorality to run rampant amongst the Jewish people, that therefore, v'nasati as brisi shalom, God says, I'm giving him my covenant of peace. Sometimes in order to create peace, you have to be a little tough, and you have to stop the sinning in its track. But ultimately, the message is very clear, that it's only us who have the power of our own free choice and our own free will to create either cursings or blessings for ourselves. Good Shabbos.